And somewhere between the words he was speaking and the sound of my own heartbeat on the monitor, I thought, if there's one person I want to hear my voice right now, it's you. Just you, not anyone else. You, with your eyes and your warmth and the way you make me feel like the world is a little more worth being in. And I need you to stay with me right now, just for a little while. Because what I'm about to tell you, I've never said this out loud before. There's something about the way you pay attention to me. I don't think you realize what that does. I don't think you understand how rare it is to feel seen, truly seen by someone. Not the version of me that's put together and polished and performing. The real one. The one that's scared sometimes, that's uncertain, that wakes up in the middle of the night wondering if any of it means anything. You see that version, and instead of turning away, you stay. You lean in. You make me feel like that version of me is worth staying for. Do you know how long I've been waiting to feel that? I've been in this bed, thinking about all the moments I took for granted. All the times I was busy, distracted, caught up in things that felt important but weren't, not really. And you were there, somewhere on the other side of a screen or a song or a silence, and I was too wrapped up in the noise to just stop and tell you what I should have told you a long time ago. I love who you are, not just the pieces of you that are easy to love. All of it. The complicated parts, the parts you probably hide from most people, the version of you that exists at 2 in the morning when everything is quiet and you're just alone with your thoughts, and you're not sure if anyone in the world actually understands you. I want you to know I understand you. More than you might think, because I've lived in that same silence, and it's a lonely place to live without someone who gets it. And here, in this hospital room, with everything stripped down and quiet, I finally understand something I should have understood sooner. The things that matter are not the things I was chasing. The things that matter are the connections. The people who made the hard days softer. The ones who showed up even quietly, even from a distance, and made you feel less alone. You are one of those people for me. You have been for longer than you know. I keep replaying something in my mind right now. A small thing. One of those moments that seems insignificant when it happens, but turns out to be everything when you look back at it later. I remember a time when I was at my lowest, when I didn't have the words to explain what I was feeling to anyone, and somehow you were there. Maybe you didn't even know it. Maybe it was just something you said, or something you did, or just the simple fact of your presence. But it reached me. It found me in the dark, and it pulled me a little closer to the light. I never thanked you for that. I'm thanking you now. I want to tell you something else. Something I've been holding so carefully, like it might break if I say it wrong. When I imagine what it would feel like to have someone beside me, not just in the good moments, but in the hard ones, the quiet ones, the ones that don't look like anything from the outside, but feel like everything on the inside, I imagine someone like you. I imagine the kind of presence you carry, the kind of love you give, without even trying to. The way you make ordinary things feel like they matter. That's not a small thing, that's the whole thing. And maybe you're sitting somewhere right now, listening to this, and you're thinking, he doesn't even know me. Not really, but I want to push back on that gently, because I think there's a kind of knowing that goes beyond names and details and facts. There's a kind of knowing that happens in the in-between spaces, in the way someone makes you feel, in what they remind you of in yourself, in the quiet recognition of something familiar in a stranger. And I know you in that way. I've known you for a long time in that way. You make me want to be more honest. You make me want to stop hiding behind the easy version of myself, and just be real, be present. Be someone who actually says the things he feels instead of waiting for a safer moment that might never come. So here is a real thing said in a real moment with nothing to hide behind. I am scared right now. I won't pretend I'm not. The hospital, the silence, the waiting, it does something to you. It makes the world feel very large and very fragile at the same time. And in the middle of all that fragility, I keep coming back to you. I keep coming back to the thought of you, and the way you make even hard things feel like they have a softness, somewhere inside it. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I genuinely don't. And that uncertainty used to feel like something I needed to fight against, to fix, to resolve as quickly as possible. But tonight I'm not fighting it. Tonight I'm just sitting with it and thinking about you and letting myself feel how much that actually means. How much you actually mean, without trying to manage it or contain it or make it smaller than it is. It's not small. It has never been small. There's a question I keep turning over in my mind, something I've been too careful to ask out loud before now. What is this? What is this thing between us that I feel so deeply but struggle to name? It's not something I can fold neatly into a category. It's not just gratitude, though I am so grateful. It's not just admiration, though I admire you more than you know. It's something that lives in a place underneath all those words, something that hums quietly underneath everything and refuses to go away no matter how much time passes or how much distance sits between us. I think you might know what I'm talking about. I think somewhere in you, you feel it too. That thread, that invisible, stubborn, inexplicable thread that pulls you towards someone even when there are 1,000 reasons to look away. I haven't looked away. I don't want to look away. And right now, in this bed, in this quiet, in this strange suspended moment between what was and whatever comes next, I just want you to know that. I want you to hold on to that. Even after this video ends, even when you're back in your own life, with your own beautiful chaos. I want some small part of you to carry the knowledge that somewhere, there is someone who sees you fully and loves what he sees, and that person is me. There's more I want to tell you. There's so much more about what happened when the doctor walked in, about what I've been thinking since then, about a decision I think I might have to make, one that has your name woven through it somehow, even if you don't realize it yet. About a letter I started writing 3 weeks ago that I never finished, because every time I got close to the truth of it, I had to stop and just breathe. I haven't told anyone else this, just you. And I know that might sound like too much. I know that opening like this, being this bare and this honest, is not what you were expecting when you pressed play, but I couldn't do it any other way. Not tonight. Not with everything sitting on my chest the way it is right now. I needed to speak to you like a person speaks to someone they trust completely. Without armor, without performance, without distance. Because that's what you are to me. You are someone I trust completely. And I'm not sure you've ever known that, but you know it now. I'm going to close my eyes in a little while and try to rest. The nurse keeps coming in to check on me, and I keep waving her off because I'm not done yet. I'm not ready to stop talking to you. There's something about this, about having you here even like this, even just through a screen, that makes me feel less alone in a way that nothing else right now is managing to do. You do that. You have always done that. And there's something I need you to know before I finally let myself rest. Something that's been the hardest to say because it's the most true. When I think about getting through this, whatever this is, whatever comes next, you are part of how I imagine doing it. Not as a fantasy, not as an escape, but as something real, something solid, something I can hold in my mind when everything else feels uncertain. You are part of how I imagine a life worth getting back to. I don't even know how to explain what this room feels like at 3 in the morning. It's the kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful. It's the kind of quiet that presses against you, that makes every thought louder than it would be anywhere else, that strips away all the distractions you normally use to avoid feeling things too deeply. And I've been lying here in that kind of quiet for hours now. And every single time my mind reaches for something to hold on to, it reaches for you. Not for the comfortable things, not for the easy things, for you specifically, for the thought of you specifically. And I've stopped questioning why. I've stopped trying to rationalize it or explain it away, or tell myself it's just because I'm tired and scared and the walls in here are too white. It's not that. It's something much older than tonight. Something that was already there long before this hospital room and these monitors and this strange suspended version of my life that I'm living right now. I want to go back to something. I want to go back to a moment I haven't talked about yet. Because I think if I tell you about it, you'll understand something about me that maybe you've sensed, but never quite had the words for. There was a night, not that long ago actually, where I sat completely still for almost 2 hours. Just sat. Didn't reach for my phone, didn't turn on music, didn't do any of the things I usually do to fill the silence. I just sat in the middle of all that quiet, and I let myself think about my life honestly. Not the curated version, not the version I present to the world. The real one. The one with all its gaps and its aches, and its questions that don't have clean answers yet. And somewhere in the middle of that, I thought about what I actually want. Not what I'm supposed to want. Not what looks right from the outside. Not what makes sense on paper. What I actually genuinely deeply want from this life. What would make me feel like it was all worth it. Like I lived it fully and not just carefully. And you were in that answer. You were right there in the middle of it, like you'd always belonged there, like the honest version of my life had made room for you, without asking my permission first. That's the moment I think I knew. That's the moment I stopped being able to pretend that what I feel when I think about you is ordinary. I need you to understand something. I have spent a lot of my life being careful, carefully measured, carefully presented, carefully protected. And there are good reasons for that. Reasons that make sense. Reasons I won't go into tonight. Because tonight isn't about all of that. Tonight is about the opposite of careful. Tonight is about the terrifying, necessary, long overdue act of just telling the truth. The truth is that loving someone from a distance, truly loving them, not just admiring them or appreciating them, but actually feeling something that moves through you and changes the temperature of the room, is one of the strangest, most bittersweet things a person can live inside of. Because it's real. It is so completely real, but it exists in this in-between space, where you can't quite reach it, and you can't quite let it go, and you spend a lot of time just holding it quietly, turning it over in your hands, wondering what it would feel like to set it free. I want to set it free tonight. Right here in this room, with nothing but honesty between us. I think about the version of you that exists before the world gets to you each day. The version that wakes up soft and unguarded, before the responsibilities come rushing in, before you've had to put any of your armor back on. I think about what it would mean to be someone who gets to know that version of you. Someone you trust enough to be unfinished around, incomplete around, real around. I think about that more than I should probably admit, but I'm past the point of measuring what I should and shouldn't admit. This room took that measuring stick away from me hours ago, and here is something I've never said out loud, not to anyone. When I put something into the world that comes from the deepest part of me, you are somewhere in it, not always in an obvious way, not always in a way that anyone would recognize. But you're in the feeling of it. You're in the intention behind it. You're in that private, invisible place where a person makes something and hopes that the one person who needs to feel it will actually feel it. I've been making things for you for longer than you know, and I don't think I ever let myself admit that until right now. I keep looking at the door to this room, the one that opens and closes every so often, when someone comes to check on me, or adjust something or ask me questions. I don't have the energy to answer fully, and every time it opens, there's this fraction of a second where something in me hopes, just hopes in this wordless, almost embarrassing way. And I know that's not rational. I know you're not going to walk through that door, but the heart doesn't really care about rational, does it? The heart just keeps hoping anyway, keeps reaching anyway, keeps choosing the same person over and over, regardless of whether the logic supports it. My heart keeps choosing you. I want to tell you about something the doctor said. Not all of it, not yet, but one piece of it that has been sitting in my chest like a stone since he said it. He looked at me in that calm, careful way that doctors look at you when they're about to say something that will matter. And he said, the things that cause us the most stress are almost never the things we think they are. He said that the body keeps a record of everything we've pushed down and pushed through and refused to feel. And I sat there listening to him, and I thought about all the times I chose busyness over honesty. All the times I chose performing okay over actually being okay. All the times I had something real sitting right there inside me, something that wanted to be said, and I swallowed it back down and moved on and told myself it could wait. It waited long enough. Everything has waited long enough. And that includes this. That includes you. That includes whatever this is that I've been carrying quietly for so long that I almost started to believe it was just a permanent part of the weight. Just something I'd always carry without ever being able to put it down. I don't want to carry it silently anymore. I want to hand it to you. I want to say here, this is yours. It was always yours. I was just holding it until I was brave enough to say so. There's a softness in you that I think you underestimate. I think you move through the world sometimes not quite understanding the effect you have, the way you make people feel steadier just by being yourself. The way your presence creates this warmth that other people lean toward without always understanding why. You might not see it from where you're standing, but I see it. I have always seen it. And it is one of the most beautiful things I have ever had the privilege of witnessing. Even from a distance, even through all the space that has lived between us. I want to close that space. I want to close it so much that it keeps me awake in ways that have nothing to do with the hospital or the monitors or the things the doctor said. Can I tell you something a little vulnerable? Can I tell you something that might make me sound smaller than the version of me you're used to? Because I think I need to say it. I think this room and this night and all this honesty has been leading here, and I'm not going to stop now. I get lonely. Not in the way that people talk about loneliness in passing, not as a complaint or a performance of sadness. I mean genuinely, deeply sitting at the center of a crowd and still feeling invisible lonely. The kind of lonely that doesn't go away with noise or company or distraction. The kind that only goes away when you find someone who actually meets you. Not the surface of you, not the useful version of you, but the real interior of who you are on an ordinary Tuesday, when nothing special is happening, and you're just existing and hoping that's enough. You meet me like that, without even trying, without even knowing you're doing it. And that is so rare. You have no idea how rare that is. I have been around a lot of people. I have been in a lot of rooms, and the number of people who have ever made me feel met in that way, truly met, I could count them quietly and not run out of fingers on one hand. You are one of them. You are one of the only ones. So when I lie here tonight, scared and quiet, and more honest than I've probably been in years, and I think about what actually matters, you're not a small answer. You're not a footnote. You are something I keep returning to, because returning to you feels like the closest thing I know to coming home. I have this image in my mind. I've had it for a while now, and I've never described it to anyone because it felt too private, too tender, too much like something that might dissolve if I exposed it to air. But I'm going to describe it to you tonight, because you've earned it, because this moment has earned it. It's not a dramatic image. It's not a grand gesture or a cinematic moment. It's quiet. It's the two of us somewhere simple, somewhere with soft light and no urgency and nowhere else to be. And you're talking, just talking, about something ordinary, and I'm not performing listening, I'm actually listening, the way you listen when you know that every word coming out of someone's mouth is a gift, and you don't want to miss a single one. And there is nothing pressing, nothing pulling at either of us. Just that light and that conversation and the particular feeling of being exactly where you're supposed to be with exactly the right person. That image keeps me company in this room tonight. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm grateful for it. I want you to know that whatever happens, whatever the next few days look like, whatever news finds me in this bed, I meant everything I've said tonight. There is no version of tomorrow where I take it back. There is no version of tomorrow where I wake up and decide it was too much, or too honest, or too real. Because it wasn't too anything. It was exactly enough. It was the most true I have been in longer than I can measure. And you deserve the most true version of me. You have always deserved that. I'm sorry it took a hospital room and 3 in the morning, and a kind of fear I didn't know I was capable of feeling, for me to finally hand it to you. There's still more. There is still so much more that I want to say, that I need to say, that has been living in me quietly and patiently, and is only now beginning to find its way out. About the letter I mentioned, about the decision that has your name somewhere inside it, about a moment that happened right before they brought me here that I haven't been able to stop turning over in my mind because I think it means something. I think it means something about us, about what's possible, about what I'm finally ready to stop being afraid of. I'm not ready to say goodnight yet. I don't think you are either. Stay with me a little longer. Please, just a little longer, because I'm not done yet, and I don't want to be done yet. And there's something about the way this night is moving, slow and honest, and stripped of everything unnecessary, that makes me want to hold on to it with both hands. I'm not ready to let it become yesterday, not while there's still so much of you I want to reach. I was thinking just before I started talking again, about the first time I felt something shift. Not a dramatic shift, not the kind of shift that announces itself with noise and light. The quiet kind. The kind that happens so gently you almost miss it, and then you look back later and realize that everything after that moment was different. And everything before it was just you moving through the world without knowing what you were moving toward. That shift happened because of you. I want you to know that. I want you to understand that you were the reason something in me changed direction without me even realizing it at the time. I was going one way, the way I'd always been going. The way that was familiar and manageable and safe, and then something about you, something I can't even fully articulate, redirected me, quietly, permanently, like a hand placed gently on your shoulder that turns you just a few degrees, just enough to see something you would have walked right past otherwise. I saw something because of you. I am still seeing it. And I think about that sometimes, about how close I came to missing it, about how many versions of my life exist in which I never paid attention, never slowed down enough, never allowed myself to feel the full weight of what was actually happening. Those versions of me didn't get this. Those versions walked right past it and kept going and never knew what they lost. And I feel something almost like grief for those versions, even though I am not them. Even though I'm here, in this room, with all of this feeling alive inside me, I feel grief for every version of a person who almost had this and didn't reach for it in time. I reached for it, I'm reaching for it right now, with every word. Can I tell you about the letter? I think I'm ready to tell you about the letter now. I started writing it on a Tuesday. I remember it was a Tuesday because there was something ordinary about the day. Nothing special happening. No particular reason for the feeling that found me that morning. And sometimes the most important things arrive on the most ordinary days, don't they? They don't wait for you to be ready. They don't wait for the right setting or the right mood or the right version of yourself. They just arrive, like weather, like light through a window you forgot was there. I sat down with no intention of writing anything important. I was just writing the way I sometimes do when my thoughts need somewhere to go. And somewhere in the middle of an ordinary sentence, something true broke through. Like water finding a crack. Like honesty getting tired of waiting for permission. I wrote your name, not your actual name. I wrote what you mean to me, the version of your name that lives inside me, the one that isn't letters, but is a feeling, a direction, a particular quality of warmth. And once I wrote it, I couldn't stop. I wrote for 2 hours without looking up. My hand was moving faster than my thoughts, and the thoughts were moving faster than my ability to understand them. And somewhere in all of that rushing, the truest things I've ever felt were getting themselves down on paper. I want to read you some of it. Not all of it. Some of it is too private even for tonight, even for this level of honesty we've arrived at together in this room. But some of it belongs to you. Some of it was always meant to find you. I wrote, there is a kind of love that doesn't ask for anything back. Not because it's selfless in some noble, performed way, but because it is so complete in itself that asking for something back would diminish it. It would make it smaller than it actually is. And what I feel is not small. What I feel is the largest thing I have ever quietly contained, and I have been containing it so carefully, so tenderly, for so long, that sometimes I forget it isn't just a natural part of my breathing. Sometimes I forget it wasn't always there. And then I remember there was a before. There was a version of me that didn't know this feeling, and I can barely recognize that version anymore. He seems like someone I used to be a very long time ago. I stopped writing after that. I sat back and I read it, and I thought, this is too real to hide. This is too real to fold up and put in a drawer and pretend doesn't exist. And then I did exactly that. I folded it up. I put it away. Because the real things are always the hardest to do anything with. But tonight the drawer is open. Tonight everything is open. I need to tell you about what happened right before they brought me here. I mentioned it earlier, and I let it sit there, unfinished, because I wasn't sure I had the words yet. I think I have them now, or close enough to them that I can try. I was standing in a room, not this one, a different one. A room that felt like mine in all the ways this one doesn't. And I was completely still. And I had this feeling come over me. The kind that you can't explain to someone who hasn't felt it. The kind that makes the ordinary world look suddenly temporary and precious and heartbreakingly beautiful all at once. And in that feeling, in the middle of that moment, the thought that moved through me was not about the practical things. It was not about the things I needed to do, or the things I needed to fix, or the version of myself I was supposed to be showing up as. The thought was about what I would regret, about what I would look back on, from some future moment of stillness, and wish I had done differently. Wish I had said, wish I had stopped being afraid of long enough to actually reach for. You were that thought. You were the answer to every version of that question. And I think that's when something in my body finally said, enough. Enough carrying this quietly, enough being strong in the wrong direction, enough choosing the safe version of your life over the true version. And then somehow, shortly after, I was here, in this room, with nothing to do but think and feel and finally say the things that have been waiting so patiently for their turn. I don't believe in accidents. I want to tell you that. I don't believe in accidents, and I don't believe that timing is random. And I don't believe that the things which find us without reason. There is something about tonight, about all of it, the hospital, the quiet, the 3 in the morning honesty, the way I keep reaching for you in the dark, that feels intentional. That feels like something that was always going to happen eventually. And all the other moments were just the long, winding road that was leading here. Here, to you, to this. I've been asking myself a question for the last few hours, in between all the other thoughts, in between the fear and the honesty and the reaching. The question is, what does she need to hear? Not what do I need to say. I know what I need to say, I've been saying it, I'll keep saying it. But what do you need? What do you carry into your quiet moments that makes them feel heavier than they should? What is the thing that lives just underneath the surface of your days, that you wish someone would acknowledge, would name, would hold carefully in both hands and say, I see this, I understand this. You are not alone in this, because I want to be that. I want to be the one who acknowledges it. I want to be the one who sees the full picture of you, not just the bright, easy parts, but the complicated ones, the uncertain ones, the ones you're still figuring out, and chooses all of it, deliberately, with full knowledge, with full feeling. Not because it's easy, not because you're perfect or uncomplicated or simple to love, but because the real things never are they? The real things are always layered and sometimes difficult, and occasionally completely bewildering. And you love them anyway. You love them more for the complexity, actually. Because the complexity is where the truth lives. And I want to live in the truth of you. I want to ask you something, and I know you can't answer me right now. Not directly, not in this moment. But I want you to sit with the question. I want you to let it find you in the quiet after this, in the space between what you just heard and whatever comes next. The question is this: what would it feel like to let yourself be fully loved? Not partially, not with conditions or calculations or the constant low-level fear that it will eventually be taken away. Fully, completely, with nothing held back on either side. I ask because I think you've maybe kept yourself a little protected. I think you've maybe learned, somewhere along the way, to love people with one hand slightly behind your back. Not because you're cold, you are the opposite of cold, but because you've been hurt in the way that careful people get hurt, which is quietly and deeply and in ways that don't always show on the surface. And you kept going. You kept being warm and present and generous even after the things that tried to teach you to be otherwise. And that is one of the most extraordinary things about you. But it also means you're carrying something you shouldn't have to carry alone. I want to carry it with you. I want to carry it for you. On the days when it gets too heavy. That's not a small offer. I know what I'm saying. I know the weight of what I'm offering to hold. And I'm not saying it carelessly. You know what keeps coming back to me tonight? A simple image. Simple and specific, and somehow more moving than anything elaborate or grand could ever be. It's just your hands. I keep thinking about your hands. About the things they do in the ordinary course of a day. The reaching, and the creating, and the small quiet gestures that nobody notices but that add up to a life being lived with care and intention. I keep thinking about what it would mean to hold them. Not as a symbol, not as a gesture, just actually physically, as one person holds another person's hands when they want to say, I'm here, I'm not leaving, you don't have to do this part alone. I've never held your hands. And sitting here tonight, that feels like one of the larger losses of my life so far. Which probably sounds like too much. Which probably sounds like more than is reasonable. But I stopped being reasonable hours ago, and I don't want to go back to it. Reasonable has had its chance. Tonight belongs to something more honest than reasonable. There's a specific kind of ache that lives in wanting something you can feel clearly but can't quite reach yet. Not a sharp ache. Not the dramatic kind. The slow, steady, patient kind that settles in and becomes part of your daily interior landscape. That ache has your shape. It has had your shape for longer than I've admitted to anyone, including myself on most days. But here's what I want you to hold on to. Here's the thing I need you to take with you into whatever comes after this moment. That ache, that patient, steady, real ache, is not a sad thing. It doesn't feel like loss to me. It feels like direction. It feels like a compass pointing somewhere specific, somewhere that I believe in even on the days I can't see it clearly. It points at you. It has always pointed at you. And I trust it the way I trust very few things in this life. I trust it more than I trust my own fear, and my fear has been very loud for a very long time. The nurses are quieter now. The hallway sounds have settled into something low and distant. The monitor next to me is doing its steady, patient work. And I'm still here, still talking to you, still not ready to let this night close around us completely. Because there is something I haven't said yet. Something that is sitting at the very center of all of this. All these words, all this honesty, all this 3 in the morning courage that the hospital gave me when it took everything else away. I'm getting close to it. I can feel it the way you feel the edge of something large in the dark. Not seeing it yet, but knowing it's there. Knowing you're almost at the place where you can finally put your hand on it and say this. This is the thing. This is what all the other words were carrying me toward. I need just a little more time, and I need you to stay. Are you still there? I hope you're still there. I hope you haven't moved, haven't looked away, haven't let the world pull you back yet. Because this part, what I'm about to tell you, this is the part that I have protected the most carefully. This is the part that lives in the room, inside the room, behind the door I keep locked, even from myself, on most days. And I'm standing at that door right now, with my hand on it, and my heart doing something irregular that has nothing to do with the monitors beside me, and I'm about to open it. Just stay with me, please just stay. I want to start with something small. Something that might seem unimportant on the surface, but has actually been one of the heaviest things I've carried quietly. I want to tell you about longing. Not longing in the poetic, distant, beautiful sense that sounds lovely when you say it out loud. I mean the actual living experience of it. The way it shows up on an idle afternoon, when nothing is wrong and nothing is particularly right either, and you're just existing in the middle of your own life, and suddenly, without warning, without invitation, you feel the absence of a specific person so acutely that it takes your breath in a way that almost embarrasses you. Because who are you to miss someone this much? Who are you to feel this particular absence, this specifically when there are people around you and a life being lived and reasons to be present? But longing doesn't negotiate. It doesn't check whether the timing is appropriate. It just arrives, sits down in the middle of everything, and refuses to leave until it's been acknowledged. I have been acknowledging it tonight. For the first time, I have been giving it the full room it has always been asking for. And what I want you to understand is that this longing, this specific, stubborn, patient longing that has your shape and your warmth and the particular quality of your presence woven all the way through it, it never once felt like suffering to me. I want to make sure you understand that. Because I think sometimes when people hear about longing, they assume it's painful in a dark way, in a hopeless way, in a way that hollows you out. It wasn't like that. It was more like carrying a candle, something that required attention, that you had to cup your hands around to protect from the wind, but that gave light, that always gave light.